Yo, what's going on, everybody? My name is Barba. If you haven't seen my videos before, I do a lot of Elder Scrolls and New World content. Welcome back, or welcome to the family, new viewer. So today we're going to be talking about my build. I use medium armor. It is a Rapier and Ice Gauntlet build utilizing the Deep Freeze artifact. Alright, the Deep Freeze artifact just became available through the mutated expedition Glacial Tarn. So if you don't know, if you're not familiar, Glacial Tarn is right up here in Great Cleave. It was mutated. I believe the mutation might be over now. So that's unfortunate, but yeah. Alright, so anyways, without any further ado, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and let's just get into it. Alright, so I would love to mute chat because I don't feel like seeing chat right now. It's whatever. Alert's off. There we go. See if it comes up. Alright, anyways, so I'm going to go over the skills. I'm going to go over why I use what I use, and then I'm going to go over the perks on my gear. And then, yeah, I mean, that's it. I'll talk with you about some options, what consumables we run. So we're going to go over like the whole idea and gist of the build to sum everything up. Alright, so first we'll go over the skill trees first. I'm also going to put the skill trees up on the screen probably, but here is the Rapier skill tree. This is what I am running. So our three skills are Riposte, Flurry, Flourish, and Finish. The Rapier is a tough weapon to pick skills for because, to be honest with you, every single skill on here is good. For me, I could have went Tondo to make my Flourish better, but I feel like that wasn't worth getting rid of Riposte. Like, Riposte is so good. As everybody knows, Riposte is so good. Riposte is going to go into defensive stance. It counters anything that hits you, staggering and stunning them for 2.5 seconds. You also get a period of invulnerability, and then you can kind of counter and attack yourself. For passives, the passives that are really, really important, this one is very, very important. Any Rapier hit gives you 3% haste, stacking 5 times. 5 times 3, 15. Alright, so you can get a 15% haste up at pretty much all the time, so that's really good. 3 stamina on any hit is going to be very, very useful. Alright, it will help you with your stamina a ton. Here we have extra damage when your target has greater than 50% health, so that helps getting those tanky boys down. And then we are level 18, so the last two that I would use would probably be this one. Deal 5% more damage to targets with a Rapier bleed, and probably this one, reduce all Rapier cooldowns on any hit. It just helps a lot. So that is what we use. Now, in terms of flexibility, if you don't, like, you could use Tondo instead of Riposte to go full bleed. I don't really advise that. You could also drop Flourish instead of the bleed build and go with Flesh. Flesh is also a very, very good skill. The movement is nice, so that's up to you. But I think this is really good. It offers a lot. It does a lot of damage, and yeah, I'll go over the rotation afterwards, but that's what I use. Alright, so Ice Gauntlet. Ice Gauntlet is very, very, very good. The reason being, Deep Freeze is kind of a banger. I'll tell you why after I go over the skill tree. I'm going to get into the gear. But the Deep Freeze one is insanely good. Alright, so the 3 skills we're using are Ice Spike, we're using Ice Storm, and we're using Entombed. Alright, so these 3 skills are insanely good. Now, again, this is another flex option. You could drop Ice Spike, and you could go Ice Shower. Okay, so Ice Shower is really good. But if we're being honest, Ice Spike, I hit people for like 5k with Ice Spike on a crit. Like, dude, it does so much damage. I'll tell you the rotation also after I go over this. But it is very, very, very good. So you want to upgrade Ice Spike all the way and get this ultimate here. Ice Gauntlet abilities, chill targets, increasing ice damage dealt to the target by 25% for 3 seconds. Ice pylon attacks and non-applied chills. Anything you use with ice, Ice Gauntlet ability. So these 2 skills that are here are going to buff your damage a lot. So you want to make sure you try to time your Ice Spike with your Ice Storm. So don't use your Ice Storm unless you have your Ice Spike up. That's pretty much what I'm getting at. For the passes, we go Cold Reach. So extra damage when you're closer to people. Crit chance by 15% in a frosted area is very, very good. Heavy attacking will root a target, which you have to have. You must use this. This is very, very important. Okay, very, very, very important. but it's a very good skill. Root to target. This one's also really good in my opinion. Casting an Ice Gauntlet ability grants a 20% fortify for 2 seconds. It's anytime you use an ability. I mean, like, that's really good. Really good. Here we're using, you have to use this to get to the Entomb, and then extra movement speed in a frosted area, so that's anywhere inside of your Ice Storm. So Entombed is one of the best skills in the game. You are invulnerable and get your mana back. It can be destroyed early. You get health back because of one of our gear pieces. You get Fortify afterwards, and then you cleanse all debuffs, which is it is unmatched. Having a cleanse is like, besides being a healer, is like the best thing ever. So I'm a huge fan of Ice Gauntlet. Alright, so that is the 2 skill trees. Now again, I told you, if you want to use Flesh, that's fine. If you want to use Ice Shower, that's fine. Again, like, it'll work for both. Alright, so let's go over the gear, and then I'm going to go over the rotation. Alright, so I'll just go over from top to bottom, and then I'll go over everything else. So in terms of attributes, we're at 5 strength, almost sneezed, 35 dexterity, 424 int, 25 focus, and 111 con. Now, the reason being, so to be honest with you, if you really want to, you could drop 15 of the int and go down to up to 30 dex to boost your Rapier, but that's up to you. You want as much int as possible to boost up that damage. I only go 100 con right now, and I'm not going to lie, this is the first time I've ever went such low constitution in my whole entire New World experience. I always go 150 at the minimum just for the crit damage taken, but I actually like this better, believe it or not. I feel like you just do, for some reason, it feels like this jump of 50 makes you do so much more damage. I don't know why. Compared to like a 200 to a 150 jump, I feel like the damage is like similar. And then, but you jump to 150 to 100, and then you're really doing damage at that point. So, I think it's really good. I would love to just be at 100, but we're at 111 because of our gear, and that's fine. So we're at 25 focus. Now, focus doesn't do anything for us technically, but everyone usually goes focus, and mainly because you get this. You get a 5% cooldown reduction, which is unmatched. You just get a flat 5%, and I feel like it's worth sacrificing 20 points to get 5% cooldown reduction. So, because the returns at this point are minimal, so like getting that extra cooldown reduction is sweet. So we went 35 dex with our extra points, just to whatever we had left over, to get that crit chance here. So that kind of buffs our Rapier, because Rapier scales on dex and int, but you want to scale your Rapier to intelligence, which I'll go over. So yeah. Alright, so that's our attribute tree. Again, this is up to you. If you want to go 150 con and drop down to like 350 or 375 or whatever, that's fine. You can do that by all means. Go ahead and get to 150. That's up to you. So you'll lose a little bit of damage, but you get a little more tankiness too. So attributes are up to you, but I want to push int and have enough con to just survive a little bit. So we're at 14,000 health, which is solid, to be honest with you. Alright, so our gear. So here's what we're using. So on the helmet, I think this is a must. So like what I'm using is like close to my favorite, not best in slot, but like my favorite in slot. So instead of BIS, I'm gonna say FIS. Favorite in slot is what I like to use. It doesn't mean it's necessarily quote unquote the best, because I think the concept of using the best is completely up to you. So tell me what you think about that. I think it's really more personal preference than it is anything else. So yeah. Anyways, so we are using a heavy helm. Now we're in medium, and the way we're able to achieve medium is because we're using the featherweight artifact. If you want to get the featherweight artifact, it's pretty easy. I believe it is at this boss down here. It is right here, I think. One of these spots right here. I forget which one, to be honest. But it's one of those. It's just like a world boss. The boss sucks. The boss is easy. It's like a bird, easy to kill. You can look it up. All right, so we're using this, but critical retribution is insanely good. Gain 10% crit chance for 7 seconds when taking a critical hit. So like, hey, as soon as I take damage, I'm pretty much gonna get 10% crit chance. The 20-second cooldown is really not that bad. And then we're using Invigorate It for reducing the duration of weaken, disease, exhaust, and rend. So reduce damage, healing. Exhaust is stamina regen, then rend is armor. So that's not bad. Then we get max health. So nothing to complain about there. And then here we're using featherweight. We are using refreshing. It comes with physical aversion, and then flame conditioning is what I put on it. Now you could use shirking heels, you could use whatever you want. I know shirking heels is technically the best, but again, this is all what you want to use. So we use featherweight, and then we can push all heavy on the other gear to achieve medium armor. That's what I like to do. I tried heavy with this. It just, the damage fall off is just ridiculous, and then you have no dodge. So here, this one is a must. It's an absolute must. This perk. So like, there's a common theme here. I'm trying to get every perk on my weapon love. All right, so if you can get gear that like amplifies all your perks, then you're really in a good spot. All right, so it's a little bit expensive, but it's worth it. All right, so here we're getting heal for 19% of your base health after Entomb ends. So you pop your Entomb, and then you're supposed to get a heal out of it. I think it heals me for 1700. So a 1700 heal after getting out of my Entomb and cleansing all my debuffs is, it's good. All right, so on the feet we're using, we're using Empowering Breaker, so when your attacks are blocked, and then Vigor is reducing burn, bleed, and poison. Here we are using Vigor, Empowered Ice Spike, and Void Harnessing. Void Harnessing is a waste here. We didn't get much out of that, but I really got this for the Vigor and the Empowered Ice Spike. So reducing durations of burn, bleed, and poison. And then Ice Spike deals 17% more damage to rooted foes. Alright, so it already does a lot of damage, so it does 157. Plus 56 if you can hit them with both. And then it also does 118 to an area out wide. So you're doing a lot of damage to people. That's all I'll say. If you can hit people that are rooted, which you will be, like I said, you want to time your storm with your Ice Spike to get the root off. And hit them with this extra 17% damage. Like I said, I'm hitting people for 4 or 5k with a crit, so it's really good. And then last, we're using Unending Thaw. Unending Thaw is insanely good. Now the reason is because Unending Thaw, the frost effect is how you're going to get people to be rooted. Alright, so you can heavy attack people that are frost affected. Alright, so here, yeah. So if they are standing in Ice Storm or have Frostbite, alright, so if they're standing in the Ice Storm or have Frostbite, now if they leave the Ice Storm, it's supposed to go away, but with this perk, it lasts for 2 seconds. Alright, so it gives you an extra 2 seconds, basically 1 or 2 heavy attacks, to be able to try to get that root off. And so that will make it will literally be a difference of life and death for the enemy. It's really, really good. Unending Thaw is insane. And it also straight up just buffs Ice Storm. So it's a really, really good perk. And then we're using Invigorated. So in terms of gems, I try to use a lot of fire, thrust, a mixture. I'm using a mixture. Fire is probably the best to go because Fire Staff just hits so goddamn hard, and people scale their weapons with fire a lot anyways, so it is pretty useful. But it's I use a lot of fire resistance just because it's annoying. So on the other side here, we're using Deep Freeze, like I said. Deep Freeze is insanely good. It gives you frozen, rooted, or chilled enemies take additional 15% damage, right? So this also will stack, right? So this is going to stack as well. So this is going to make Ice Spike do 17% more damage to rooted foes, and then you're doing 15% more damage to rooted foes. I mean, come on. Are you kidding me? That is insane. So that's 32% extra damage to rooted foes right there. Alright, so you're going to be doing a lot of extra damage. Your heavy attacks are going to do a lot of extra damage. Alright, so very, very, very good. Okay, so you're also getting a 9% damage when your stamina is not full, which is all the time. And then hits Inflict Surge, dealing lightning damage. So you want these Rune Glass gems. I would go any Rune Glass gem that works for you. I like the Opal a lot. I like Malachite, I think, the one that gives damage when they're CC'd. So it's good. And then Deep Freeze also gives 7% crit damage, and it also gives light and heavy attacks reduce your active weapon cooldown by 2.5%. So that's good. That's really good. And then lastly, you're going to upgrade it. You want to upgrade it with a perk. Now the perk I would go, honestly, you could go Keen. You can go Crit Chance. You could go Crit Damage. I'm sorry, you could go Crit Chance for Keen because it already has crit damage on it, which is going to make you do a lot more crits. There's a lot of options, to be honest, that you could go with here. I'm trying to think what else off the top of my head. You could just go with straight up attunement, so your weapons attacks just do more damage. Period. You could go Enchanted, heavy attack, light and heavy attacks do more damage. So this is totally preference, but Deep Freeze is great. So whatever perk you use, which is probably attunement, is gonna work. So for our Rapier, we have Int on our Rapier, and we are using a frozen gem, so the gem is going to scale with ice. And it's also going to make us scale into intelligence at 75% scaling, so that's going to help us a ton. We're using Shirking Frost, so after dodging an attack, your next hit deals 45% extra damage. Leeching Fury, so Fury heals for 60% of the damage dealt, and you gain invulnerability. That is huge. Alright, so basically when you use Flurry, alright, you're going to heal for 60% of the damage because the skill hits hard as a truck, and then as you can see, invulnerability pops up, and we get a half a second of not being able to take damage, so that's nice. And then lastly, we have Tretchant Ren. So Tretchant Ren is going to do apply, so heavy attacks inflict a 16% Ren, so it reduces their armor. Alright, so what you really want to do is if you hit a riposte and you stun the guy, you want to heavy attack into a flurry, then you have the bleed on him, you flourish, boom, and people die. Alright, so it does a lot of damage. I think this is like the best rapier that I can find. If you want to go a different rapier, you could also use this one here. Crit damage, crit chance, and then riposte inflicts 25% Ren. Alright, so now for me, I feel like it's not worth it because it's only a 9% extra Ren, and you're missing out on the entire flurry buff. So that's how I see it. But flurry is a slept-on skill. It does so much damage. Alright, so here we're using the Stalwart Heartrune of Stone Form. Alright, this one's so good. So you can't be debuffed. You can't be crowd control debuffed. So your immunity to stagger, crowd control. You get 10% fortify, and you heal for 75% Heartrune damage. So at this rate, it's like 800 and something. So that's good. You just reduce your damage outgoing by 20%, but I mean, you're using this when you need to survive or when you're ready to go crazy and kill someone, right? So, you know, the 20% is not that big of a deal. It's totally worth it. All right, so the jewelry we're using is Alchemist Improve, so improves healing from potions by 10%. You get slash protection, you get max health. I think this is a must. This is almost the best that I can have. Here we're using Healing Breeze. I don't think Healing Breeze technically really works that well. I don't know how often it actually procs on me. I'm not sure. I feel like it might proc off of me healing with Fury, but or Flurry. I'm sorry, but it's hard for me to test. I can never tell. I think it works. If it doesn't, correct me in the comments. But yeah. So we have Refreshing to reduce max cooldowns, and then we have 6.6% ice damage because obviously we do a ton of ice damage with this, and we do ice damage with our gem. So it's just the obvious choice. And then lastly, we're using Rusher Earring. So we have Fortifying Toast. On Potion Drink, you get Fortify for 8 seconds, reduce max cooldowns, and regenerating 0.5 health every second. So I think the perks on the jewelry are like perfect. Now in terms of like attributes, you want to just basically get around what I have. Now my stats are all messed up, but you want to get around what I have. So in terms of consumables, I'm using Ginger Snap Cookie. It gives a ton of intelligence. In Arena, this is what I use in Arena. So Ginger Snap Cookie, we use Powerful Honing Stone to get that damage bonus. I use Health Potions, obviously, and then we use Regeneration Serum. This is the absolute best regeneration potion in the game. It's not even close. But in OPR, we switch it up a little bit. We go with this, so we go with a Infused Regen Potion just because they're a lot cheaper and affordable. And then we also use Hearty Meal. Now, in OPR, I always run over and kill a wolf, and then I get Zephyr Cakes. You can also get Honing Stones if you want, I think, or whatever they're called. And it gives you a damage bonus and damage reduction, but I like the Zephyr Cakes. Zephyr Cakes give 10% movement speed at all times, so I think you get a lot more value out of having movement speed rather than just 5% damage. That's how I feel about that. So I would definitely take the movement speed any day. It just helps you survive. All right, so that is my gear. Let me know what you think down below. Again, you want to try to buff every perk or every skill that you have. The only thing I'm missing is the Riposte one. So if I can get the Riposte one on, I mean, maybe one of these pieces of gear, but it's going to be tough to get rid of any of these. So it's okay. Obviously, you can't get every single thing you want all the time, but you have to sacrifice a little bit, right? So, alright, so anyways, here's the combo for Ice Golem. Now, you are rooting people after you heavy attack in a frosted area, or you 2 seconds after. Alright, so the ideal situation is you drop your Ice Storm, you heavy attack to root him, and you hit him with a, see, look, 5,500 on an Ice Spike. Are you kidding me? Alright, so it does so much damage, right? And then you're just getting a lot of extra damage by light attacking. Alright, so again, you wanna heavy attack to root them and get close to make sure you hit, and you're doing a ridiculous amount of damage. Now, something to note with Ice Spike, is that when you use Ice Spike, so watch, right? So here's the difference, right? So you use it. I'm not gonna press the button again to activate it. I'm just gonna let it go. All right, so you're hitting people for that. Just hit for 4,300. All right, so a 4,300 hit without even light attacking, right? So let's say I light attack. So what was that? 56 plus 1,700. It was like 6.5k. All right, now let's do it with all of it. Let's do it all here. I mean, look at the screen. How much damage we're doing. It's tough to deal with. It's a lot of damage. All right, so you're getting a ton of extra damage. All right, so the Rapier, on the other hand, you want to. The goal is to bait somebody. So I like to run around a corner and then turn around and let them hit me. All right, so and then use a riposte. So you want to riposte ideally, right? Then you heavy attack into a flurry, and then you heavy attack again, and you flourish, and then finish, right? So the flurry. Did you see how much damage it did with the finish there? So watch it again. So what that's gonna do? All right, so. Down here, it's going to, if when you attack again, so you want to get the bleed up. So let me explain. So you use flurry. Now the reason you use flurry is because at the end you inflict a bleed. All right, so and the flurry inflicts bleed. Now Tondo's cool, but Tondo's just not that good of a skill. All right, I don't like Tondo that much. It's not that good, so I use flurry for this. So you use flurry, and you get the last hit of it inflicts a bleed. Right, so you inflict the bleed. Now we have a bleed on them. Right, so watch when I hit them. It's going to absorb the bleed and do a ton of damage, right? So the skill did 2,000 plus 2,700 for the bleed, so we essentially just did 4,700 for free, right? So it's pretty good. All right, and that skill there, it's hard to judge how much damage it does, but now we have a bleed on them, right? And then we absorb the bleed. It does 25 plus 2,000, 4,500. All right, so these combos hit hard, I promise. All right, I promise they hit very, very hard. Alright, so what I plan to do is instead of making this video super long, because it's already pretty long as it is, I'm sorry, I'm going to post another video with gameplay, alright, so I'm not a capper, alright, I promise, I will post another video, and if you're ever in trouble, remember, always run around a corner, hit Entomb, and then your life gets better, okay? As always, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for your support. Appreciate it, guys. I hope you enjoy the New World content. If you don't, I'm sorry, but here I am. Peace out.